thank you for the invitation today. As Minister for Culture, Heritage and the Gaeltacht, I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to address the committee in relation to the performance, expenditure and targets of my department during the first half of 2018. And it's been a very significant year for my department with the launch of Project Ireland 2040, which, as we know, is a comprehensive national planning framework and associated 10-year national development plan. It explicitly recognises that our culture, our language and our heritage are essential parts of the sustainable development of the country and acknowledges the centrality of culture and creativity to our national development. And for my part, Project Ireland 2040 has afforded my department an unprecedented opportunity to invest over €1 billion in our cultural, linguistic and heritage infrastructure to safeguard and future-proof this precious resource for generations to come. Of this investment, some €725 million will be invested directly into our cultural infrastructure, in our creative industries and in enhancing cultural experience for our citizens. An investment programme of €285 million over the period of the plan emphasises the amenity value of our natural and built heritage, and a further €178 million is being provided to support and protect the Irish language, Gaeltacht communities and communities on our offshore islands, and this is particularly fitting in 2018 as we celebrate Bliain na Gaeilge. And in April of this year I was delighted that the Taoiseach and the Minister for Finance and Public Expenditure and Reform could join me in launching our historic capital investment plan for my department on foot of Project Ireland 2040. The level of investment proposed will transform our cultural and heritage infrastructure right across the country and represents an important statement for this generation and future generations. And as Minister for Culture, Heritage and the Gaeltacht, I look forward to implementing this programme of investment and seeing stakeholders and citizens alike reaping the rewards of this investment in the years ahead. In terms of my appearance here today, the members have been provided with a report by my department outlining details of performance and expenditure across all programme areas during the first half of 2018. And the 2018 revised estimates provides for a gross allocation of just under €303 million for my department, and in addition a further €700,000 in capital funding was carried over from the 2017 provision. So gross total expenditure incurred by my department in the period to the 30th of June 2018 was €143.5 million. This expenditure represents 47% of the overall 2018 gross allocation. And my colleague, Government Chief Whip and Minister of State, Joe McHugh, and I will now speak about the highlights of each programme area during the first half of the year. I will commence with the culture programme, and I'm happy to expand later on any matter that the members may wish to raise. So in relation to culture, the funding of €167.3 million is provided in 2018 for the culture programme. The total gross expenditure for programme A up to the 30th of June was just under €85 million, representing 51% of the 2018 programme allocation. A cornerstone of my department's culture investment programme under the NDP is the €460 million that is being set aside for the renovation of the national cultural institutions, the protection of the national collections and the enhancement of visitor experiences and services. This funding programme will build on the success of the renovation of the Milltown and Dargan wings of the National Gallery and will include significant capital investments across many of our institutions. This is a critical year for the appraisal, planning and design of these flagship projects with a view to moving to the implementation phase in the following years. And we have made progress on a number of key projects, including the redevelopment of the National Library and the renovation of the National Archives. And we're also moving other projects through the appraisal and evaluation stages, including the Natural History Museum and the Crawford Gallery in Cork. And under a new and culture and creativity programme, an investment of €265 million will also be made in enhancing regional cultural infrastructure to ensure that people in all parts of Ireland enjoy opportunities to engage with the arts and culture, in the digitisation of the national collections to ensure they are preserved and made available to a global audience, and in the expansion of the audiovisual sector as a key element of the government's creative industries investment. In June of this year, my department launched a major new strategy on the audio-visual industry, which will guide the 200 million Project Ireland investment in expanding that vital creative industry. The Creative Ireland programme goes from strength to strength and continues to enable increased creativity and access to cultural activity across our communities. The funding provided for the programme has meant huge progress made under Pillar 1, which is Creative Youth. And working in partnership with my colleague, Minister Bruton, and the Arts Council, we launched Creative Schools in March 2018. 10% of all schools in the country applied for the pilot. 150 schools were chosen from 400 applications. Over 38,000 students will have access to this initiative during this year and into next year, which will explore the potential impact of the arts and creativity on school life. Funding provided for our local authority culture teams from my department and the Department of Housing have led to the development of ambitious and challenging 5-year culture and creativity strategies for each local authority, and all 31 of those were launched by myself, the Taoiseach, and my colleague Minister Murphy last week. With the additional funding provided this year, local authorities have risen to the challenge of rolling out the Creative Ireland programme in communities all over Ireland and have already doubled the initiatives to over 500, with more expected by year end. Cuireann na nÓg was the first National Day celebrating children and young people's creativity in June. I think it was the 23rd of June, and this was a great success. Funding provided allowed local authorities to hold over 500 events and initiatives across the country free of charge. Events range from photography to theatre and drama to coding, and our culture teams in the local authorities showed imagination and innovation in their approach. In May of this year, I launched the Creative Ireland programme scheme, seeking new partnerships across the various creative activities, and there was huge interest, and I'll be making a formal announcement in the coming weeks of up to 30 new partnerships focusing on creative industries, the environment, film and media, heritage, music, theatre and drama, visual arts, and of course mental health. And I look forward to feeding the learning from these new partnerships into wider government policy, making the Creative Ireland programme a real cross-government initiative. 2018 also sees the presentation of Culture Ireland GB18, which is a special year-long programme to celebrate and renew the unique cultural relationship which exists between Ireland and Great Britain. And over 100 Irish artists are touring England, Scotland and Wales in celebration of this unique cultural connection, as well as forging new connections, which it is hoped will be further developed in future years, ensuring our close cultural bonds for the future. Finally, in terms of the culture programme, it would be remiss of me not to mention the new Cultural and Heritage Centre at the Bank of Ireland in College Green, which opens its doors to the public in July of this year. And Bank of Ireland has very generously made the space available for the centre to the state for a 10-year period, during which time my department will manage and animate the space. The first exhibition in the centre is Listen Now Again, an exhibition exploring the life and works of Nobel Prize-winning poet Seamus Heaney, which is being run and curated by the National Library of Ireland and certainly worthy of visiting. I'm happy to expand on any issues members would like to raise in respect of this programme before proceeding. But if you wish, Chair, I can move on to my heritage section, or whichever you prefer.
We might go with section A first of all.
Sure.
Just maybe allow for a couple of questions, or if anybody wants any advice on it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll ask people then, if we're going to go through it section by section like this, that we'll keep our inputs to 5 minutes, because if we're going to go 10 minutes for every single section, we're going to be here for quite a long period of time. So Dr. Hayden is in there first, but 5 minutes, just yeah.
Okay, and so, sorry, Jerry, your plan is to go...
His plan is to go through section A here. Or now, just, if you see, it's actually broken up between a number of different sections, A, B and D, and then C is going to be followed later with obviously the Irish language with on Tara McHugh. So maybe your question didn't pertain to A, did it?
No, it did, yeah. Well, I've a couple of points I want to make on culture and some one on heritage. So thanks, Gaeltacht. I will, I'll start out with my points on culture first. And both ministers, thank you for your engagement here with us today and what is an important process as part of the estimates process. Minister Madigan, if I could ask you in relation, first of all, I just want to make a point about Galway 2020 project and to say, it's disappointing to have seen changes in the management team, but I would welcome you, Minister. You proactively met with the Chair of Galway 2020 to discuss the stepping down of the CEO and the cultural leadership plans. I think leadership matters. Being resolved as soon as possible is absolutely key, and the appointment of a new CEO and that yesterday is a very positive development there. But it is crucial that department officials finalise the performance delivery agreement with Galway 2020 promptly, because I believe Galway can be a fantastic European city of culture if all the parties work together and in a very positive and proactive way. So it's been a disappointing couple of weeks, but I think we've turned a corner on it, and I encourage you to continue your very proactive approach to it as you've had as Senior Line Minister on it. In relation to small-scale local festivals and summer school schemes, I think this is an area we can have increased funding in, Minister, for local cultural events. Sometimes, the big stuff gets the headlines, but the small stuff in local communities where children are from and those areas is absolutely critical, and brings culture and creativity much more real to life to children when it's in their own local area. So the big stuff in the big cities is great, but I would ask consideration be given to increasing funding in the small scale local festivals and summer school scheme. I commend the work of the Creative Ireland programme. Crinne Ninog in June was really successful, and great to see the celebration and encouragement of children and young people in their local communities. So that's the main points I have to make on culture. I have something on heritage later on, but thanks, Chair.
So thank you, Deputy, for your comments and your questions. Just in relation to Galway 2020, first of all, to say, and I know you acknowledge the fact that I met the Chair, Aideen McGinley, there on the 13th of September to discuss recent developments in relation to Galway 2020, and it's obvious that my department has a key interest in making sure, as the biggest funder, in making sure that it's a success. The whole cultural capital, it's really important, the European cultural capital. And I note as well, and you also acknowledge the appointment of Patricia Philbin yesterday as the new CEO of Galway 2020, and she was seconded from Galway City Council and worked there as the Director of Services, and I believe has been very much welcomed by the current board. I know my department, and I appreciate the comments you're making in relation to the performance delivery agreement, and I agree with that, and my department is acutely aware of the fact that we want to expedite the signing of that, and we hope to have that done by the end of September. It's really important that we are in a position to support this programme as much as possible. It's a very ambitious programme. The spotlight of Europe and possibly globally is going to be on Galway in 2020. So we want to make sure that it's carried out in a robust way and in as best a way as possible. And there has to be accountability in terms of all the funding that we've given. My department has committed 15 million. We have already spent over 250,000, and the rest of the monies will be spent over 2019-2020. I think it's going to be a success at any stage, particularly where you're at the beginning of a programme like this. There can be, redundancies, for want of a better word, or people stepping down, particularly when you're moving into the delivery and implementation phase. But we're very aware of what's going on, and I think it's important to say as well, there is an EU monitoring committee there as well, who are making sure that it's all carried out in a proper way. So just to mention that. And just in relation to the small festivals, my department has a very small budget. Deputy, around festivals, it's around 50,000. The main funder in this space is the Arts Council. And obviously I'm in the process of negotiating with the Minister at the moment in terms of, hopefully, I can't obviously make any guarantees of increasing monies to the Arts Council, but they will give then monies to festivals around the country in order to support those, because I do agree with you. I think they're very important, and I've spoken to the Chair about this also. Yeah, and also Creative Ireland. In terms of the local authorities, we launched those programmes recently, and they also provide monies towards small-scale festivals as well. My department, as I said, gave 2 million. The Department of Housing gave 1 million towards those festivals. So thank you for your comments.